Have you ever felt like questioning God? I mean, really wondering, what is God doing? Why is he doing what he's doing? Why is there war? Why is there famines? Why do children die? Why is there a pandemic that has radically changed our world? These questions come to our mind, and if we're honest, we sometimes want to just ask God, what in the world is going on? Well, if you feel that way, you're right in line with the Old Testament prophet Habakkuk. In the very second verse of this Old Testament prophecy, it says, "How long, O Lord, will I call for help, and you will not hear?" So he'd been crying out to the Lord for help in a certain devastating circumstance, and he's not getting any answer from God, and he's very frustrated. The immediate issue was that the people of Israel, people of Judah actually, were not living for the Lord. Matter of fact, they were living very sinfully, and yet God was not dealing with them as the prophet thought he should and could. And so he's crying out, "Lord, how long are you going to let this go on? How long are you going to let these people live like this before you step in and do something to change it?" And then the Lord does something that he wouldn't normally do for us, but he does for the prophet. He actually tells the prophet what he's up to and why he has not answered the prayer that Habakkuk thought he should. And that starts in verse 5 of the same chapter. And going down through the chapter, he tells him, "Look, I am actually doing something. I'm bringing the Babylonians against Judah. And this evil, godless nation is going to come in judgment upon the people of God. And so just hang on there, Habakkuk, it's coming." In verse 13, he says, "Why do you look with favor on those who deal treacherously? Why are you silent when the wicked swallow up those more righteous than they?" So as soon as Habakkuk gets God's answer, he's upset. He says, "Wait a minute, the Lord, I mean, come on. Sure, Judah is bad, but Babylon is much worse. How can you bring somebody much worse than us in to judge us and to bring your judgment upon the people? That wasn't what I was looking for, Lord." And so even though the Lord has stepped up and given him an answer, pointing to the future, Habakkuk is not in any sense pleased. Matter of fact, he's more perplexed than ever. But he does something after he's done with his prayer at the end of chapter 1. He does something that the scriptures consistently teaches us to do. He has cast his burdens, his concerns on the Lord. And now he's going to rest and trust in the Lord and see what he does. Chapter 2, verse 1 is an outstanding verse. "I will stand on my guard post and station myself on the rampart, and I will keep watch to see what he will speak to me and how I may reply when I am reproved." Interesting response, isn't it? He says, "I know, Lord, knowing your character, knowing your wisdom, knowing your love, I know that I am wrong somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. I poured out my complaint. I told you what bothers me. And now I'm going to sit back and wait for your answer and see what you do. And in the meanwhile, I know you're probably going to correct me, but I'm going to rest in that. I've cast my burden on you, and I know I can trust you." And so what a beautiful picture we have of what Habakkuk does at that point. And then in chapter 2, the Lord once again steps up and he gives an answer to Habakkuk in his great concern. And this time, however, it's not a particular or specific answer. It probably wasn't exactly what Habakkuk was looking for. But in chapter 2, verse 4, he says this, "Behold, as for the proud one, his soul is not right within him, but the righteous will live by his faith." In other words, he's saying to Habakkuk, "Look, I'm not going to be able to give you an answer that satisfies all your questions. I'm God. I know what I'm doing. You'll never be able to totally figure it out. But you have two choices. You can live in pride and challenge me and not rest in me, or you can live by faith and trust me." Those are the two options laid before the prophet. It's interesting that the latter part of verse 2, "But the righteous shall live by his faith," becomes the theme verse for 3 New Testament books, Romans, Hebrews, and Galatians. This one little phrase is so important to the New Testament in those 3 wonderful, wonderful books. The Lord goes on, and Habakkuk and he dialogue throughout chapter 2, and we come over to chapter 2, the last verse, and it says this, "But the Lord is in his holy temple, let all the earth be silent before him." Habakkuk comes to the end of his prayer in chapter 2 and end of his dialogue with God, and he says, "Okay, I don't have the answers. I don't know all the particulars. I'm not totally satisfied, but I know I can trust God." Why do I know I can trust God? Because the Lord is in his holy temple. He rules, he reigns, he's sovereign. Let all the earth be silent before him. It's not for me to complain at God and to tell him how to run his universe. It's his world, it's his universe, and all the earth will ultimately be silent before him. And so we find as we come to the end of chapter 2 that he is now resting in the sovereignty of God, even though he doesn't have all the answers, or the answers that he does have are not exactly what he would desire. But he knows he can trust a holy, sovereign God. Well, you might say, Gary, you didn't get to the best part of this book. And you're right. We're going to do that tomorrow in chapter 3. We'll see you then.